Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna. Welcome. We are reading Bhagavad-gita here. Bhagavad-gita as it is, translated and commented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My name is Latika. I'm having a bit of a cold today, so my voice isn't what it usually is, but I think you can probably hear me. We're reading the 6th chapter, Jnana Yoga, which means the yoga form of meditation mostly, and we have come to text 16. Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantam anashnataha nachati swapna shilasya jagrato nevacharjuna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruit and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad-gita. Animal food is for those in a mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Punjate te tvagahang papa ye pachantyatmakaranat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. A Krishna-conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. We got very specific here. Yes. Of course, this form of yoga, this yoga of meditation, it is extremely important to find that balance, because when the whole position, the whole process is dependent on one's ability to focus one's mind on the object of meditation, and mostly that is Supersoul, which is an aspect of Krishna. And if the mind is not focused, then it's a failure. Then you are not doing the yoga. And therefore, there are very strict rules for all of this. And even in both directions, because it's one thing to eat too much, there's another thing to eat too little also. So a yogi means you're regulated. A yogi doesn't wake up one day and think, okay, let me just fast and eat nothing, or let me just have a big party and eat everything I can see. No, a yogi is very strict. Of course, Prabhupada naturally swerves towards describing Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga as well. And when we hear of this papa and punya, this activities for sense enjoyment which leads to more suffering in this material world, we may not be accustomed to seeing the world like that. We're hearing about karma. I mean, karma is a word, it's used, everybody knows it. But the meaning is not just, if you're mean to someone, then something bad will happen to you. It means that all our activities in this world create a reaction. And by the activities we are committing at the present, we are building our existence in the future. And depending on what type of activities, that also determines what type of future we will create for ourselves. So a yogi doesn't want to create any future, really. The point of yoga means to cease material existence and go back to a spiritual existence. So therefore, it is worth a little bit of taking on some difficulties in order to reach that goal. Because reading something like this, and I'm thinking about the modern world, everyone's sitting in front of their computer, and then somebody comes up and speaks about all this ignorance and sin. How do we relate to it? We relate to it by understanding how it connects to our process of Krishna consciousness, our process of spiritual life, our process of self-realization in this world. And therefore we can actually see it. We had, some years ago, it was quite interesting, we were having a little course, we were learning a system that we were going to use, and somebody had put up a course for us. And then for lunch we went to our very nice Govinda's restaurant in Gothenburg, and we ate very nice prasadam and lots of it. And then after the lunch we went back to studying, and it was impossible to focus. And I had not had that realization before, because I'm thinking, I can eat a lot, and sometimes I don't eat very much at all, and I'm mostly fine with that. But when I find that to actually focus one's mind on some studying, or here especially on some meditation, then it's very important to find that perfect balance of not too much and not too little. Yes, and then we naturally come over to not only the amounts, but also what kind of food. So in order to practice spiritual life, we want to establish ourselves on the platform of mode of goodness, and therefore there are certain things we do not touch. And it's not because God makes some laws that we can't have any fun. It's simply not a very spiritual thing to eat animals. Someone has to kill that animal, and then you eat it, and then you pay the price. It's just like, yeah, we're going to be graphic here. You kill someone, but you didn't kill it. Because that's what people feel. They go to the supermarket and they pick something off the shelf and they didn't kill anyone. But we're having that, I haven't been following it very strictly, but there was a case of murder, and one person did the actual killing, but the other person was driving the whole activity. And that person who paid someone else to kill someone, they are also guilty. And in the same way, if we eat animals that somebody else killed for us, we are also guilty. And that karma is part of how we create our future. And that is not a very good way to go about it. Not materially, and especially not spiritually, because it dulls our ability to focus on spiritual life. And on top of it, it creates a lot of reactions in the future. So yeah, that's something we can think about. I will read the next verse. Yukta hara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta svapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkaha. This text 17. The translation is, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So yes, it's not just a random thing, God tells us what to do and what not to do, but we see how something works. It's like if we want to drive our car, I'm still with my car, and we want to go to a certain place, we find the road, and then we drive the road in the right direction, and we remember to put petrol in the tank. Otherwise, we're not going to get there, even if we know about it. So spiritual life also, there's actually a process. And this yoga process requires regulations. And it may not be entirely natural for us in this day and age, but it's also very helpful. Purport: extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad-gita 9:26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grain, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or not in the category of goodness. Yes, so everybody knows we are the Hare Krishnas. We practice kitchen yoga. We cook a lot of food for Krishna, but we cook only food that Krishna wants. So somebody is asking us, It often happens. You eat something and then people will ask, why are you not eating that? And why are you not eating that? And there are two reasons. One is the reason that this food has a certain influence on your life, on your consciousness, even on your future, karmically speaking. And the other reason is, as a person who practices bhakti yoga, it means trying to serve Krishna in love and devotion. We will only cook that which we can serve to Krishna. And then whatever is left over, we will eat that. And that automatically takes care of all the other regulation, because Krishna doesn't like all these other things. So that's ultimately the personal answer. If I'm a servant of Krishna, I want to give him things that he likes. And then naturally, that's what I will be eating also. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyarta kalatvam. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam, not even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. So this is a little intense, of course. We are not recommending that you start off by sleeping only 2 hours per night, because you can't do it. You'll go crazy. You lose your health. You lose your focus altogether. But yoga is all about regulating. And then by practicing these regulations, as one's spiritual consciousness grows, then it may be possible to live on that level of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Haridas Thakur. We may not be on that level, but we can aim for how to say, our level of regulation, where we don't get carried away, where we don't get overly tired, where we don't get overly, how to say, if you sleep too much, that's also kind of makes you a little dull. And with eating also, eating too much, you will, what to speak of depleting the planet, because we have a lot of people who don't get enough to eat, but it will also kind of destroy our health, kind of destroy our focus and so on. So yoga is all about regulating life in order to create the best possible situation for spiritual advancement. So if you take one of these verses on its own, it sounds a little, how to say, it sounds a bit like a detail, and it is a kind of a detail, but there's also a principle behind it. So we learn all these things. We learn everything we need to know to practice our spiritual life, our self-realization from the Bhagavad-gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I also have, if you look under the film, there's a little section there with some links if you want to order your own Bhagavad-gita, if you want to come and visit the Krishna temple. And I would very much appreciate if you have questions or comments, you can put them down there. You can write them and I'll come back to them. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama